Hello, and welcome back to the Bucket Bros. We are your hosts. I'm Ronnie West. On the other side of the screen is Mr. Bobby Marcico. If this is the first time listening, we thank you for giving us a try. Fair warning, we are just a couple of dudes who are longtime buddies who kept boring our wives talking about NBA basketball. So we decided to start a podcast. I'm playing the role of Kenny Smith / Charles Barkley, the former point guard of Fridley Tigers. I also ran a bunch of fives at the Northwest Club, running as gym supervisor, defensive specialist, always brought in at the end of the game, but only had 4 career points. I do have a career high of 36 points in an actual recorded game. Mr. Bobby, on the other hand, is your Zach Lowe meets Shams. While still being a high school athlete, he didn't play any basketball. He had a much bigger and better brain meant for much more analytical things. Well, he's not a doctor. He is a physician assistant, and he might be running your local urgent care. We hope that you guys are taking all the time that we have for basketball and giving us a chance to come and listen to us to give you just a little bit extra. Maybe we're going to help you with that trivia at the bar or figure something else out. But we're so glad you guys are here. Now that I've said all that, Bobby, how are you? Thank you for joining us and letting me do that little intro for everybody.
Well done, sir. I am doing great. The basketball just keeps getting better. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but that first round was amazing. It was awesome.
It was.
And
Everybody's talking bad mouth about the NBA. It's like the ratings are bad. But nope, they were awesome.
Well, that's because they're not watching.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah. After I've caught my breath, are you still catching your breath after the first round? It's been pretty amazing. Like you said, it's aside from the shockers and stuff that we'll get into. Before we get kind of running, was there anything that kind of jumps out at you as a whole from the playoffs?
Anything that jumps out at me as a whole? Well, gosh, you're really kind of taking me off guard here, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
I'm still kind of gloating, honestly, about how well I did on our first round picks. I don't know if you listened to my solo rant at all. I didn't comment on yours. I was so focused on tooting my own horn. I didn't even see what your record was. But I think I got like team and games. I think I got 5 of those right. I really should have taken that to Vegas.
You should. Oh. I felt fairly confident. I knew I got the Pistons one wrong, and I think I picked the Clippers. So, and I think those were the 2 differences that we had. So yeah, you had a pretty hot run there. So yeah, go ahead and toot your horn. So, do you want to get into some fast break news?
Let's do it. I'll pass you the ball first.
All right. Well, first off, I got the big thing that obviously anybody that knows me, T-Wolves in 5. My Minnesota Timberwolves got Shannon Sharp and flipped it on them. The Lakers fumbled in 5 games. My T-Wolves managed and move on. Big games. Ant Edwards, Rudy Gobert. Lots to see there. We'll get into that later. Bobby.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there was 2 pretty epic 7-game series that just finished. Steph Curry and the Warriors overtaking the Rockets, or should I say Buddy Hield and the Warriors overtaking the Rockets, and Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets overtaking the Clippers. What a run by both teams.
Absolutely. I got to go over to the East and the last second heroics of Tyrese Halliburton making the move on Giannis, finishing at the hole to get the win, to win the series. But that wasn't even the story that people were talking about. His dad, out on the court, waving a Tyrese towel in front of Giannis. Obviously, we all have to say Giannis was a true gentleman and full of class the way he handled it. But yeah, that could have gotten a lot worse. But yeah. And the Pacers move on.
And then this might seem like old news, but there was 2 sweeps that happened early on in this first round, both by the 1 seeds, OKC over Memphis, and then the Cavs the Cavs over the Heat. And it turns out that both of those teams have already lost game 1 of their second round series. I would love to see the last time that happened. We'll have to check with our stats guy.
Yep, statistician, get on that. And the postseason awards have been handed out. We have Evan Mobley. Hit that Mobley button. He wins Defensive Player of the Year. And our guy Dyson Daniels, the Great Barrier Thief, wins Most Improved Player. Peyton Pritchard wins Sixth Man of the Year. Stephon Castle is your Rookie of the Year. And Kenny Atkinson, the Cleveland Cavaliers coach, is your Coach of the Year. Over to you.
Oh yeah. That's not just an expression. Greg Popovich has finally stepped down as head coach from the Spurs after a long and very winning tenure, the most winning coach in NBA history. He will stay with the front office, but man, what a run by that guy. Will be missed out on the court. I'm excited to see what his new role will yield for this Spurs franchise.
It's the same one. He hired himself. If you don't remember, he was the general manager for the Spurs and he hired himself. Bob Hill got the boot and he hired himself when he was a GM, and he is now the president. So he essentially gave himself a little bit of a promotion over what he was before. But yeah, shout out Pop. He deserves it. 5 championships, Hall of Fame run. He can pick whatever position he wants. So yeah, that's Fast Break News.
Point guard?
Yeah. Well, now that we got to get into it, I'm opening it up. We'll let my neighbors hear our conversation. It's time. Where do you want to start, Bobby? Like we said, we had a couple game 7s that we were kind of dealing with. We saw the Nuggets move on and beat the Clippers. And one of the topics that I think is circulating the rounds right now is just how awful James Harden's playoff numbers are. I think you sent me the text, and there was somebody else that I was watching. He has 55 playoff games where he's made less than 4 field goals in those games, and probably has had more turnovers in those games as well. So and then we also have the Rockets not getting outlasted by the Warriors. So yeah, like you mentioned with those game 7s and sweeps, and where's your head at? Where do you want to start now that we can kind of jump into any of these series?
Well, of the 2 big things that you mentioned, I think one topic blends into another, so we'll save that for second. I guess that would leave us with the series that ended on Sunday, which was that yesterday? What day is it today? No, it's Tuesday. As the second round was starting, the Warriors overtaking the Rockets in a very convincing win. I am sorry, Warriors franchise. I ever doubted you. I was on record not only picking the Rockets in 6, which was wrong, but even ahead of Game 7, with you guys having all the wind in your sails, going up 3-1. That you don't lose those series very often. You still had my doubts and were able to pull it out. So that was shame on me. I think a big part of that, I don't think people are mentioning it enough, is I was joking about it at the top of the episode, but Buddy Hield had arguably the best game of his entire career. I mean, I'm sure he's made more than 9 3-pointers in a game before. I'm pretty sure, in fact, he's made double-digit 3-pointers in a game before. I'm sure he scored 33 points in a game before, but I don't think he's ever done it in a Game 7 series, in Game 7 of a series before. And being the number one X factor to help close out a team. We talk about this Warriors team a lot as like, who's going to be that second guy? You just need one to pop. Usually you don't expect them to pop to this level. This one was pretty epic. This guy could not miss. You saw the comfort every time he was releasing the ball. The crazy thing is this this performance came off of 2 games where he didn't score a single field goal. So it was maybe the bounce back of a century.
Yeah.
And Sorry, go ahead.
I love the post-game presser where he was telling that Jimmy's not the Robin anymore, and he's like, his name's Butler. He's Alfred. So
that was well played.
But yeah, so I had to interject that. That was a great commentary from the back of the press conference by Buddy.
Yeah. I mean, big credit to the Warriors defense holding the Rockets to a double-digit scoring game once again. You saw some uncharacteristic things, especially from Şengün, who felt like he just couldn't hit anything. I mean, Draymond played spectacularly on him, so I don't want to take credit away from him. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of bunnies that I just saw Şengün come up short on. Another stinker from Jalen Green. He basically just had, I mean, in terms of scoring, which is his primary role out there, he basically just had one good game this entire series. So a little bit of a disappointment for him. Fred VanVleet, I wouldn't call it an inefficient game, but his hot shooting didn't necessarily run out, but he wasn't the primary focus this time around. I will say Amen Thompson probably had the most spectacular game for the Rockets, and second to Buddy Hield, probably the most spectacular game overall amongst the players. In general, he just had a phenomenal series. He took on a huge role as a second-year player, first playoff series, was the primary defender on Steph that entire time. Did you see that highlight that he had in the fourth quarter?
Yeah. That one's circulating. I was waiting to talk about that highlight because I think he's the, like you mentioned before, if they start bringing in any talent, like his rise, I think is something that we're going to see in the next year or so. So I'm curious to see who they can kind of pair with them. I hope they bring in somebody good because I think that'll kind of determine those secondary players and how good they get too.
That's kind of where the narrative keeps going, is that like I've been a proponent of that too, of just like the Rockets they're missing that one star to make them a complete team. And it's the type of star they're looking for is like the closer, right? But that's tougher to come by than just.
Well, it's like you could be patient too and wait and see, like if one of these young guys is going to be that, then so be it if you want to play the long game. But most NBA GMs are not playing that long game. They need it now. So that's why I think so many of us are thinking, are they going to go for Giannis? Are they going to try to get KD? Is there going to be some sort of movement towards some sort of player to pair with this amazing core that they have if they can keep it? So, but yeah, to me, it's, do you want to play the patient game because then you can keep picks and kind of build out what's here? So that's kind of the eternal question, I guess.
Well, I do know that they want to have somebody who fits their age timeline. I would say Giannis would be like the upper limit of that, but the cost of Giannis, what are they willing to get off of? Because that's, I think that's really what it comes down to. One, they're going to have to match salary. So that would like require Fred VanVleet, I think, picking up his player option and including him in a deal. It would be tough. And they would have to essentially almost definitely get rid of one of their younger talented players. They have the draft capital to do it on top of that. But I know that they wouldn't want to gut this team too much, too fast and shorten their timeline by, a number of years, because in theory, this could be like a decade-long run for the Rockets. That's a big proclamation to make. We were making the same type of statements about teams like the Grizzlies and stuff like that, not long before. So
hey, I'm staying with the T-Wolves. I'm staking my claim right now. If we can keep
anything
here.
But the T-Wolves are a good example of a team that made a win now move with their best player being a very young star and are still finding ways to keep their options open and keep forward momentum going, even though they unloaded a bunch of assets. So I'm not saying that there's not a pathway out there. I also felt like that, and I said this early on in the season when they started, after they went on that 6-game skid, I thought, this could be a pattern that we see with this team to close the season. They may find themselves in the play-in. They may not get out of the play-in, but that's okay because this is already an extremely successful season for them. This was a huge leap. And, no matter the outcome at this point, I would consider, this a win for this franchise going forward. Well, they happen to get the 3 seed out of it. after closing the season really, really strong. And so I don't know. The world is their oyster. We know that Rockets team, that Rockets franchise is willing to go all in to try to build a championship winning team. They did it not that long ago with still an active player who just lost in the playoffs, James Harden, and some active players who are still in the playoffs like Russell Westbrook. But yeah, this will be a fun conversation that we can continue throughout the entirety of the offseason. This is going to be a fun one.
Yes, indeed.
That said, I don't know. I guess maybe I had some quick comments on the Warriors.
No, I'll let you steer the ship. Where do you want to go with this?
I just wanted to say that as good as the defense was for Golden State, they were doing against a team that has offensive woes like them, and it took a hell of a performance from Buddy Hield. I mean, don't get me wrong, Steph looked like Steph down the stretch there. I mean, he had a 22, 10, and 7 efficient game, and 2 steals and 2 blocks too. Sorry, I know I'm just reading box score, but he really did. He really did fill it up, and he looked like Steph the Great out there. He did.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it for to the tune of 22 points, which sounds unimpressive relative to what we've seen in the past. But having like multiple like uber efficient guys out there in a given night is going to win you a game 7. Now they're going to have to do it again for a whole series against a more dominant team. So,
I'm licking my lips as far as a Timberwolves fan, trying not to think like, well, we can this is a gentleman's sweep. It's how it doesn't seem like this Warriors team in the middle is much different than the Lakers, the way that this team is constructed. Like 2 big stars, somebody else might pop, like a Rui or a Buddy Hield. I don't know which one of them is going to have like the Hachimura game. Is Buddy going to have one of those games where all of a sudden he drops 30 again? Otherwise, it's going to be, can we stop Jimmy and Steph? And who else is going to kind of beat us?
And they have the personnel to do it too.
So that's where it's like, is this kind of the same setup? But as far as making sure that, like, last year I was upset Rudy was on Luka. This year I didn't mind it. Like his defensive rating, he was one of the best. Like
it was amazing. Yeah,
like,
there's highlights
in the NBA by far. So
there's a lot of highlights for the offense, but there's a lot of lowlights that indicate, indicative of how well Rudy was defending out there.
Yeah.
Round of applause.
So obviously, Steph and Luka, as far as their speed and quickness, are night and day. And I'm not saying I want Rudy left alone on an island trying to guard Steph at the top of the key, but outside of that, there's not much that's worrying as a Wolves fan when you get that right defensive team on the floor that's going to be able to get rebounds and kind of dominate defensively, as well as like to be able to get the putbacks, which is what was huge. Obviously, when you miss 40 3-pointers and your star center has 27 rebounds in the last game. So it's having that advantage inside is what I'm hoping kind of leads towards similar results. But obviously this is a different team, but it feels very similar. I'm a Homer fan. So that's where it's like, am I too blinded by what I just saw and thinking that this is going to be kind of a repeat, or is this going to be kind of a repeat?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the Wolves are a bigger, faster, younger team. They're not a better shooting team, but they have a lot going for them. I said it from the beginning of the season. I was high on what they did in the trade. I don't know that they necessarily had gotten better, but I felt like they were still going to be a solid team in the playoffs. And, ever since the All-Star break, oh, baby, here come those T-Wolves. So, yes, they do have.
Randall's been healthy. My goodness, they're like 27-5.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think that the Warriors have a little bit more of a functional team than the Lakers do. The Lakers were truly. I'm sorry, I called the Rockets a 3 seed earlier. The Lakers, they're a 2 seed. The Lakers were a bit of a false 3 seed themselves. So we'll see. That Game 7 win by the Warriors was rather inspiring. Just like global team effort. So they can't do that though. They can't do that every single game. So I'm excited. I can't wait for this game tonight. It's going to be epic.
Yeah, no, I'm super pumped. Yeah, and they have home court. Like, I think that's the other thing that kind of goes quietly into this night is even the Wolves having a 6 seed now have home court advantage in the semi-conference finals. And there was one stat I saw that it's the exact same 8 teams minus the Mavericks have been replaced by the Warriors. Otherwise, it is the same final 8 teams in both in Eastern and Western conferences. So as last year's team. So it's exciting and fun to see. And yeah, I'm pumped. I've already written out through game 7, 2 weeks from tonight. So I feel like this series is going to go to distance. If we do predictions, I'm going to save it to the end and probably pretty obvious.
Well, we could go a prediction by series since we're going to talk about them all.
That's fine. Then I guess I will say it right away. I have the Wolves in 7 is kind of my thought. I think they having home court. I think it's just that little edge, like you said, is the way these teams are. I think the Warriors are better constituted than the Lakers and just have a better depth and role players and obviously not a slight on JJ, but just a slightly better coaching. So to me, that's where this kind of leads towards a much better battle of wits between Finch and Kerr, where I think Chris Finch had a much bigger advantage over Redick in the coaching department.
Well, at risk of making the same mistake twice, I'm going to pick Wolves in 6, just like I did last 6. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I almost just to spite you, I almost said Dubs in 7, but I'll try to stay on the side of logic here. I'll stick with what I said. Wolves in 6. Woo-hoo. Before we get to our next topic, I hate right now that the banner below my name is like 3 weeks old. I'm sorry, I didn't change that before we started this. I apologize.
You can change that if you need to.
I don't know.
The three dots by your name.
I'm technologically inept. I don't even think I have 3 dots. It should never be 3 dots. Okay, well, let's just get to the next topic here.
What do you want it to say? I'll edit it for you.
No, I got to think about it. So is that what you're going to say? I got to think about it. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that update. So I guess that will take us to real quick the other game 7 that happened on Saturday, where the Nuggets overtook the Clippers. I would say another global team effort, inspiring win by the Nuggets. They reemerged. The former champion Nuggets felt that they reemerged in that game. I apologize again. I have to give a lot of apologies today because I definitely was in that last episode Clippers after what I had seen in the previous 2 games, and
I picked Clippers in 6. I think.
Yeah. I think you and I were right there, and I mean, honestly, the one person that really stood out to me that game as the guy who really like carried the momentum was, do you know who I'm going to say?
No.
Russell Westbrook. From start to finish, he brought the energy, and everybody on that Nuggets team followed suit. Russell Westbrook came out and was just like, I mean, great one-on-one defense, steals off of passes, fast break points, hitting the right guy. I mean, he was the do everything kind of guy. And that's exactly what a team like the Nuggets needs to win. I feel like they have a few of those guys, but Westbrook, he really, really stood out. I would say I kind of felt like the Nuggets were going to win in the second quarter when Joker's first field goal came with 7:45 left in the second. And the Nuggets were winning at that time. And then Murray's first field goal of the game came with 3:30 left in the second, and the Nuggets were still winning in that game. In almost the entirety of the first half, they barely needed to score a scoring count. And honestly, the double-digit scorers in the first half for the Nuggets was Westbrook, Brown, and Aaron Gordon. And then the hot shooting just kind of continued. The Clippers were looking tired. They were looking lazy. They really looked outmatched. And then the other name I need to say, Christian Brown. I said it about his first half scoring total. I think it was like 10 or 11. Spectacular defense on Harden in that game 7. He certainly struggled against James Harden throughout the entirety of the series. He just looked a lot more engaged, a lot more patient, and I think that's what he was lacking early on. Was just that, James Harden, he's gonna stay real close to you, and then he's gonna slip and try to do a move when you least expect it. He's gonna wait for you to kind of be a little off balance, and Brown just wasn't falling for it, and hence the low scoring total for Harden in that game. He was still creating for his teammates, but low scoring total, a little bit more characteristic, as you alluded to at the top of the episode, of some former James Harden games, because otherwise Harden had a spectacular series. It was amazing. I mean, he played 6 out of 7 games very, very well, and then it just couldn't get it done in game 7 with the upped intensity.
Yeah, I think he only had 8 points, but like 13 assists. So it's like I got to give him respect for that. I am quoting Nick Wright here of First Things First. That last night, or that on game 7, he had more turnovers than made field goals, and that has happened to him 26 times in a playoff game, and that's just who he is. And we mentioned before the 55 times where he's only had like less than 4 shot attempts. And so, yeah, he had 8 points. I think it was on 4 of 8 shooting, and just wasn't there. Just like, yes, he was kind of there trying to get his teammates involved, but I think when you're the star, it's kind of expected for you to score more than 8 points. Like, you have to get to the hole and try to have more than 8 shot attempts. So, or I think it was 4 shot attempts, and so it was 2 for 4 shooting. But yeah, to me, there needs to be more from him. Obviously, Kawhi shouldn't go without any blame as well. He's one of those. There's another thing here. It's impossible to rank Kawhi on an all-time list. He has more finals MVPs than Steph Curry, but has less career points than Tobias Harris. So it's like, how do you, he's one of those enigmas, and it's hard to figure out exactly who he is when he's going to show up. I thought that maybe this was going to be time for him to show, but he never really seemed to take over a game. Yeah, he was there averaging in mid-20s for probably the entire series, but it never, aside from maybe that first game, really felt like his fingerprints were in the game. And so it was kind of disappointing, and I'd have to point a little bit of a blame on him too. You're the star. Like I said, you're the one with more finals MVPs than Steph. Like, you're the one, you're the multiple champion that's supposed to lead this team. And both of the leaders kind of phased out. Then it's like, what is Norm Powell, Amir Coffey? Are they the ones that are supposed to help take this team over the hump and carry these other two? So it's kind of confusing. And the Clippers obviously need to have some sort of an identity crisis or check this offseason to see what are they going to do? Where do they go from here? Because it's kind of disconcerting to kind of fall apart like that in a game 7.
Yeah, well, I guess that will bring us into the series that the Nuggets are currently playing in, after a very big and another inspiring win last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who sustained their first loss of this playoffs. So,
what a shot!
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know where you're going. Sorry.
What a shot by Aaron Gordon. I mean, just that sequence in general down the stretch was it's kind of bizarre that the Nuggets were able to pull out the win, because we got to under a shot clock in terms of time, and I think there were 3 back and forths with the free throw game, and at that point when it started, OKC had a 3-point lead, and so the free throw game starts about 20 seconds left in the first quarter. I'm sorry, I don't have exact numbers in front of me, folks, but all free throws at that point were made up until the 2 big misses by Chet Holmgren, which then subsequently led to the pass down the, well, it was more of a Westbrook sprinting his ass down the court, throwing it with his right hand over at the top of the break to Aaron Gordon, who was able to get an open shot, and it just rimmed right in. Ballsy play all around. Give it to give it to a guy standing on the 3-point line who's not known to be a 3-point shooter, and then that guy taking it. I guess he's open, and he said it even in the post game interview when he was still huffing and puffing that the open man is the best shot, and and he said I see Westbrook gives us. He said it himself. Westbrook gives us the best shooting up, the best scoring opportunities, and I trust him, so I took the shot, and ended up working out. But I honestly think that OKC strategy in that moment, or in that sequence of fouling the Nuggets so that they couldn't get up a 3-pointer prior to that, forcing them to go to the line. In which case, Jokic hit 2 free throws. Aaron Gordon then hit 2 free throws. So 5 points in about 10 seconds for Aaron Gordon to close this game out. And I think I kind of felt like OKC was fouling a little too quickly on those Nuggets possessions. So they were leaving too much time on the clock. And then it took a couple bad free throws from Chet to ultimately lead to this Denver win, who I think stole this win from OKC at home. Because I genuinely felt like OKC had the advantage throughout the majority of the game. Shea, who was kind of looking a little bit flat in first round, almost like he just needed to get his bearings set.
Like he had 2 weeks off in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I got the sense from Chet, similar to kind of like what I got from the Celtics against Orlando, of just not wanting to lay it all on the court in the first round when you felt confident that you were going to win the series. That was kind of the vibe I was getting from him, or maybe just he felt like the expectations were really high. Although I don't really see Shea Gilgeous-Alexander as a guy who's afraid of the moment, but he came out in that first quarter and he on the night he had like 33 points, and I'm pretty sure he had 15 in the first quarter alone. After that, didn't hit a field goal in the second quarter. So all the good things I said about Christian Brown's defense on James Harden to close the Clippers series kind of went out the window right off the bat for Shea, who looked like he was really finding himself in this playoffs. Kind of had a sort of mellowed out after that first quarter, as I mentioned, but I still felt very much advantage OKC.
For sure. It was, I was going to say too, it felt like they had control of this game, by a 6 to 8 point lead through most of the game. Like that, it felt like from the end of the first quarter on through the third, that was just, it was their game. The Nuggets would make a push, but it never felt like the Thunder were out of it. And then of course I fall asleep, full disclosure, and then wake up this morning and oh my goodness, there was quite a change. And so I think it's what happened there towards the end, like you were saying, if it was something where they kind of just, they weren't conditioned enough to make it through the last 4 quarters. Did they lose interest, or how does that end up happening for a team that has been so dominant that just all of a kind of fumbled it at the end? And then I think it's just maybe lack of reps just over time of high intensity reps.
Yeah. And going into this series, one thing that I didn't really think about too hard until it was brought up on one of the other podcasts I listened to. I can't even remember the name of it. I'm sorry to whoever this is. This concept I'm stealing of. I think it was Dunked On, of who's going to guard Jokic, because there was an obvious answer in the first series, right? Zubats. He's kind of the known Jokic. I don't want to call him the Jokic stopper. He's more like the Jokic defender. Yeah, it's just he just kind of brings him from an 11 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, which is just enough to make you feel comfortable. But in this series, who's the obvious Jokic defender? And there was a lot of possessions where Holmgren was on him, and he was just drooling at those opportunities. He was going right at him. Yeah. And on the shots he missed, he was getting the offensive rebounds on him. Chet's obviously got the length, but Jokic just has the size and the touch, and he's really good at this thing where he can go into a guy and he shoots his shot at such a weird angle. His forearm is just launches at such a weird angle. I don't even know if I'm flexible enough to replicate it, that he can lean into a guy and still get the shot off because it's so far away from the defender that it goes in. So I'm kind of curious to see if there's going to be more Hartenstein possessions where he's the primary defender on Jokic. And I kind of actually felt going in that there wasn't necessarily going to be a primary defender, that it was going to be more of a collective effort, which is sort of feels like what OKC did throughout the regular season when they were matching up against the Nuggets. I'm thinking like, well, maybe we're going to see possessions where Dort is just going to be bodying him and making it tough for him. He might get the shot up, but at least he doesn't get to his position. Same thing with Caruso, who, by the way, had a spectacular game, both offensively and defense. Just looked like 5 steals. Can we mention 5 steals from Caruso, not to go with 2 blocks and 20 points, and looked like he was hitting every one of his 3-pointers. He went 5 for 9 ultimately, but yeah, I mean, they're I think they're going to have trouble with Joker, who ended up finishing with his first 40-20 playoff game, 42-22 to be specific.
Yeah. Well, it goes without saying now, and it's even more so that I think, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are 5-7 against the Thunder are 5-7 against the remaining teams in the Western Conference, and so they have lost 3 games to the Nuggets this season. So
I thought it was 6-6. Maybe you're right.
No, they're 2-2 with the Nuggets, the Wolves, and they went 1-2 against the Warriors.
Oh,
and then now they've lost another one to the Thunder, to the Nuggets as well. That's what I'm adding in. So, so it's the Thunder are going to be tested, and to me, it's not. They're a great team, obviously, but they are playing teams that know how to play against them and have different schemes that can attack them and figure out how to exploit this great team. So I'm super excited to see what else they can do. And now that we've kind of shifted this series back, it's now with the Nuggets up. Do you want to do predictions? Are we getting into this one a little bit more? What are your thoughts here?
I could keep going on about this game. There's a lot to talk about.
We still haven't gotten to the Eastern Conference, and we're 37 minutes in.
Heck 'em. This is, let's see. So, all right. So obviously we're coming into round 2 here a little late. So there's going to be some bias in our predictions, which I'm going to try to avoid as much as I possibly can. If you believe me, coming into this series, I was going to say, I'm going to just keep bringing the same number over and over again. I was going to say OKC in 6. I don't think that Jokic alone is going to get both Hartenstein and Holmgren 5 fouls a game. And I don't think that the Nugs are going to get to the line 33 times for the tune of 27 points every game. And I certainly don't think that they're gonna be down 3 with 13 seconds left and pull off a win very often. I think this one was a great matchup. It was a steal for the Nugs. But I think we're going to see a lot more OKC. I'm saying OKC 6.
Oof. All right. I'm tempted, but I also, as a Timberwolves fan, knowing that the Wolves, since I picked the Wolves to go through, who do I want to see? And honestly, it would be the Thunder. Like, I don't want to see the Nuggets, but that's why it's like, I don't know.
You guys dethroned them last year.
I know, but we have to do it again, and that's the thing. The Nuggets, the last 2 series the Nuggets have played have gone to 7 games. So obviously, I'm picking this game to go 7.
Okay, that's what I was tempted to do, but I was like, they'll do it.
And so that's right. You picked the Wolves in 6, so I got to make sure I've notated that. And you've got the Thunder in 6, and I'm gonna go Thunder in 7. I just feel like there's too much, but I think they're going to figure it out. I have confidence in the coaching. I think that's, again, the Nuggets now with still trying to figure out who's coaching this team. Like everything that people are talking about and seeing film-wise, like Jokic is the one doing substitutions. He's the one in timeouts talking about plays. So it's like, is the coach really being the coach? And is he going to manage to player coach this thing through? We joked about it before, but it's sort of manifesting itself kind of on the court, and it's happening. So we'll see. I just don't think it's going to work. I think they need to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out what's going on. I just don't think they have enough.
All right.
Thunder in 7.
Let's do it. Well, that brings us to our next game. I would vote that the order we do this in, just because the other game I spent the least amount of attention on. So I would vote that we talk about the other game that happened last night. The Knicks overtaking the Celtics 108-105 in Boston.
Yeah.
Another steal.
In overtime.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So
I know I was jokingly texting you that I was so tired that I was falling asleep in overtime. I was literally falling asleep in overtime because I was that exhausted, but I kept slapping myself to stay awake for it. Yeah, I mean, that was just another game where the one seed coming out looking dominant, looking like they have full control of the game in spite. I'm sorry, you're right. The two. I think of Boston as a one seed. I deserve that.
Oh, that was fun. I didn't realize I was going to do that. Okay, and then now it doesn't want to do it. I just had an audio audience. I just had a bunch of balloons go up when I tried to remind Bobby that this is not the Celtics were not the 1 seed; they were the 2 seed. So
he was celebrating. He could not. It was as if he was opening a present on his birthday. That's what it felt like. That he finally got
one right.
Yeah. No.
Put money in your jar.
But yeah, no. I mean, the Celtics with a 20-point lead up until when did that?
5 minutes in the third.
Yes. Thank you. And obviously the Celtics ended up missing a historic amount of 3-pointers for a playoff game.
Yeah,
this one
50, 60 something.
It was 40. I can do the math real quick. 45. That's how easy the math is. It's 45 3-pointers that they missed. Because
the Wolves just did it like 40 the other day, so that's what they're 30 something.
Yeah, and it looked like in the third quarter that the shooting woes were about to stop, especially with a couple big threes that happened. It was like a sequence of like Drew Holiday and then Derek White, and then they went right back into it and really opened the door for New York to claw their way back. And they did so certainly on the backs of Jalen Brunson, who, I mean, he didn't have an efficient game, but some of the shot making from that guy is just absolutely spectacular. I still to this day at 6'1", I don't know how he gets some of these shots up and just how silky they hit the net. It doesn't make sense to me.
He loves that right side of the floor, like the way that he shifts over there, and it's just like obviously he's been doing that ad nauseum in a gym of just, it's like a slight fade back a little bit, so it's that little separation when you're a little guy. I know that just because I always had to have, like, you got to get something back. But yeah, just the way that he moves on that right side, and whether it's in that corner hitting that three, he's remarkable.
And we can't give Jalen Brunson all that credit without mentioning Anunoby, who also matched Jalen Brunson's total of 29 points. He was very aggressive. He was making his shots. He was taking advantage of the opportunities that they were giving him. You wouldn't expect, Brunson, who put up 23 field goal attempts, to be followed by Anunoby with 20 field goal attempts. You wouldn't expect that to be your 1-2. But in this game, it was an opportunistic. It was just like an opportunistic thing for him, with Karl Towns being subdued a little bit by the Boston defense. And, I got to say, I mean, I have long been kind of a little bit of not necessarily a hater, but a doubter of Jason Tatum's jump shot. I don't love the mechanics of it. It's a high release. When it goes in, it's going in. He can get really hot, but I mean, throughout the entirety of this playoffs, I feel like he's been wildly inefficient. I was kind of giving him leeway, as I mentioned before, for maybe just not wanting to put it all out there in the first round. Last year's champions, knowing that they don't necessarily have to hit the pedal full throttle to start the playoffs here. Especially against a 508 seed. But yeah, I mean, these woes are continuing for Tatum into this, at least this first game of the series, and it, like, where is this guy attacking the rim? Where are you? Why do you keep trying to shoot these inefficient shots? They're not going in, and it's not even like they're straight and like rimming out. They're going like wide left, wide right. I mean, these are awful misses. I don't know why he's not trying to modify his game plan in any way. It's frustrating to watch because, I mean, the Celtics, I mean, I'm going to say advantage Celtics for this series, but they're going to need him. They're going to need him to step up and consistently. This is not playtime anymore. They're playing a Knicks team who's hungry and has a lot to prove, and is their first win against the Celtics team or against any equivalently seeded team or 60-win team this year. So they're hungry. They're going to feed off of this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think at least he tried to put forth effort. He had 16 rebounds in this game too. So, but yeah, I get what you're trying to say. It's how do you, because him and Jaylen Brown both with 23 points, both in about 45 minutes in that game. So I totally get too of trying to find your flow and creating for others versus just trying to find your shot, because that's what's going to create for everybody else. So it's tricky with trying to gauge his efficiency when, like you said, it's the streakiness of a shot when you think he should be doing more. At least, like, I think what you're trying to say is, at least if your three's not working, get into the paint, get closer in, take a closer shot, like just move it around, find a different point that you're keying in on the wing versus just trying to always hit something from the top of the key. So I'm not too worried about them. It's Porzingis not scoring, I think needs to change. I think that's kind of an issue. Trying to get your big men going is always seemed to be a recipe for success in the NBA. It just kind of opens things up when somebody down low is able to get the ball and make shots. It opens up because then they're usually looking to kick out too. So definitely some stuff they need to figure out. I think looking at the way that was set up, maybe it was more of a strategy thing because he only played 13 minutes. They had much more Horford and Pritchard in the game too. So
he went out with illness early in the game. That was the
okay. So that
I don't know what his status is. No, it's okay. I don't know what his status is for game 2 yet, but yeah, he had an artificially shortened game on that one.
But then obviously you have more Horford, which I think is an advantage, like you said, to take out Towns, with who only ended up with 14 points, 13 boards. So Horford being a great defender and just one of those that can handle those big guys that kind of can move out to the perimeter. So I think the matchups are fun to watch with this. And so, yeah, we'll see. When's next game is tomorrow night, I believe. And we'll kind of see where that goes. What else do you have on this one? Are you thinking that the Knicks can do some damage here, or?
Well, I think the Knicks will at least steal another one. I was worried going into this series about what they were going to look like, and if just if their woes against these top tier teams were going to continue. I was thinking maybe like Boston in 5, maybe Boston sweep. But I'm gonna say Boston in 6 at this point. I'm sticking with the 6. I hate that I keep picking the same number, but that's my level of confidence. I'm going down the middle.
Whew. This has been the one that I've been battling in my head, just because with the quick start, there is things to worry, and I want to be a homer and root for my old guy. So I'm going Knicks in 6. Actually, I think they're going to pull the upset, take out the champs, and kind of reset this Eastern Conference. And we're going to kind of see where things go from here. Is kind of what I'm curious to see, and I'm hoping for.
Out of pure excitement for that, I almost hope you're right, but that would be that would be very interesting. I don't know. I don't have any other takeaways from that game. I guess we'll just have to feel it out in game 2. But yeah, Celtics.
Mikal Bridges. Was there anybody else standing out? I think the defensive stuff of to me there wasn't too much. That's why I'm just trying to set up if there was anything else.
Yes, it was there. Josh Hart's always a whole lot of fun to watch. But yeah, Celtics, go to the rim. This is the worst rim protecting team in the league, at least amongst playoff teams. Get your ass to the
Lakers are gone.
Get your ass to the hoop. What are you doing? All right. Well, I guess that leaves us with Pacers Cavs. and the Pacers had a convincing win against the Cavs to start things off. I think it was just, I mean, the best way I can sum it up is like one great offense outperformed another. That's really what it came down to.
Yeah.
You know, I know that the Cavs were short. They were short Darius Garland. I'm not sure what his status is going to be. I'm going to look that up as I'm talking and really waste your guys' time here. But his status for tonight, he's listed as game time decision to go with Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter. So the Cavs might actually be playing quite short this time around. But I really think that they were missing their guy out there.
Oh, for sure.
I certainly think the biggest variable in all of this was just shooting luck by the Pacers. They shot 52.8% from three on 36 attempts. That's amazing. If anytime you do that, you're going to have a huge advantage against whoever you're facing. And then, on top of it, Mitchell really tried to carry the scoring load, which got him 33 points on 30 field goal attempts, but it really wasn't enough. We've been kind of seeing all playoffs that, Ty Jerome has been, at least against the Heat. I mean, he just looked epic, and he looked like his early regular season self. And I think he was just a little bit too well defended. He couldn't really get it done as well as he had last series for the Cavs. If I'm not mistaken,
still had 21 points.
That's true. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. And he was plus 10 in the box score too. So his minutes actually were the most solid out of anybody for the Cavs. So maybe I'm being a little too rough there.
Yeah, I think you were being a little too rough. Evan Mobley had 20 and 10. Jared Allen had 12 and 5. Like you said, Mitchell with 33 and 5. Merrill, who stepped in for Garland, Sam Merrill, only had 6 points and 4 assists. So I think obviously, like you said, they're missing the kind of engine to kind of run that superstar ship, and they just didn't have enough. And like you said, the Pacers they're looking hot right now.
They're a good team. They're a really good
team. Like I mentioned, I don't know if I said that they were somebody else light before, but they're nobody's second best. That this team has got some quality guys going around. Naismith 17, Siakam 17, Miles Turner with 13 and 11, Nembhard with 23, Halliburton with 22 points, 13 assists, and Mathern had 11 points and 5 rebounds. This team was it was just put together. They're so good. Whatever. I can throw some money into the jar. But yeah, they're fun to watch. They're one of those, they look like they're having fun, a lot like the Timberwolves, where it's like, man, you wish you were kind of like at the end of the bench with them just for how much fun they're having. And they're one of those teams that it's exciting to watch them just because they're all over the place. The whole team can play.
I mean, they're incredibly deep. They played 11 guys in this game. And there was no like garbage time minutes or anything like that. They legitimately played 11 guys in this game. I kind of mentioned it last series. It's like they have like this endless supply of wings that they could just keep throwing out. They've been a team that just kind of like is in like always in like the middle of with a lot of their recent like not so great seasons, but unwillingness to tank altogether. And I support Indiana franchise for that. But they kind of are always picking up these late lottery picks, which end up being these just amazing role players. So they got quite a stock, and it's the same reason that I said before the end of the season, even, which has held true in the playoffs, unbelievably, that if you're close with this team in going down the stretch of the fourth quarter, you will lose just because it's like they just have like a sea of talented guys who are going to be playing defense and hit 3-pointers and making your life rough, and they have a really, really solid floor general in Halliburton to kind of help steer the ship. So I think this is going to be a really good series. I'm praying for good health for the Cavs going down the stretch here, because I think they're going to be an exciting team to see, to continue to play throughout these playoffs if they stay healthy. So I don't know. If you don't have anything else to say, I guess I'll just throw out my prediction at this point.
Go for it. Give me your prediction.
I was just going to say I'm gonna go way out of left field here and pick Cavs.
Better not take mine.
In 6. I'm picking Cavs 6 straight sixes.
Ooh.
Straight sixes.
Not as bold as my Pacers in 5. I think they're going to, if this team is injured, they're going to finish them. This team is more experienced, and I just enjoy watching this team. I think they're going to get the job done. I think Halliburton is just going to lead this team. I think he might have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, just the way everything is going on with stuff behind the scenes. I think he's just going to kind of light it up here. And I think he's going to just finish them. This is one of those where the Cavs, I'm just, like you said, things aren't coming together the way that I think everybody wanted them to. And this is a dangerous Indiana Pacers team that I don't think anybody wants to face. And so, yeah, I'm seeing a Pacer Knick conference final is kind of where I'm headed.
Well, it certainly doesn't look like they're the way that they got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Everybody was saying that, they weren't a true Eastern Conference finalist. Well, I mean, they're coming back this year looking like that same squad. So, well, you guys, you can tune in tonight to see Game 2 of that series, along with Game 1 of Warriors Timberwolves, and take our meaningless predictions to the bank.
Yes, indeed. Cash that out. So maybe at some point we'll have this sponsored section by ESPN Bet or DraftKings, whoever wants it. Come and get it.
If you're listening, please reach out to us.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, I think unless there's anything else, I have to come up with a trivia question for you.
Still haven't come up with it?
I think I've gotten one, and
it's like sing a song for like 5 minutes so that
No.
We do a little number here to entertain the fans until we come up with something.
I wish I had the full list of this, but I guess this is. I'm going to. I know. This is a true or false trivia question, just because this one's pretty standard. In the series against the Minnesota Timberwolves, true or false, Luka Doncic has gotten blown by on 75.8% of all drives he defended.
That's really, really specific to, what if it was like 78.7% of the time? Then it would be
you
false.
Put me on the spot. I'm trying to give you a trivia question. Over under 75%. How about that?
I'm taking the over, baby.
You're taking the over?
You said 78.3 or 5, right?
I said 75.8%.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got my dyscalculia. I got it all wrong.
That he was blown by on drives that he defended.
Well, I've watched a playoff series involving Luka Doncic twice in the past, so that sounds like a very true statement.
It is false. It was 65.4%.
You got him.
All right, that's your trivia brought to you by T4. I promise next time I'll actually look it up versus looking at the one that's just on my phone as we
T4 Medical. T4 Medical, bringing you all your long-term facility care needs in the North Carolina region and now Illinois.
And this has been the Bucket Bros, brought to you by Gale Force Productions. If you're looking for podcast creation, production, editing, and or video production and drone work, please contact us, Gale Force Productions, because this is a Gale Force production. With that being said, make sure you guys go and check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, maybe Pinterest, and maybe Tumblr. Who knows? Go look and find us. If they're not, go check us out. Search for The Bucket Bros or The Bucket Bros 24 or 25. It's one of those. Search for us. You'll find us. Follow us, subscribe, like us, comment, tell us how terrible we are. We'd love to hear from you. Or if you want to be a guest, if you're a player, hey, we want to interview you. With all of that being said, we thank you for watching the Bucket Bros. Bobby, I appreciate you. Hopefully you don't get a parking ticket. And we will see you guys next time.
Paying customer. All right.
There you go. On the Bucket Bros.
Ciao.